Welcome to the Fantasy Addiction Network. Today we are talking start sits for the wide receiver position for week 14. Again, that pivotal playoff week. You got to get these right. I'm going to help you do that. So starting with 5 starts of the week, we are beginning with Stefon Diggs versus the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions are very porous against the receiver. They give up 6 most points to the fantasy receiver. Adam Thielen is coming back this week, which I think only helps Diggs. He should take away some of the cornerback looks from Darius Slayton. And also, I'm not counting on Adam Thielen to do too much this week coming off of a hamstring injury. I think that just makes Diggs a much stronger start. I think Diggs is probably going to blow up this week. If you have him on your bench, it's going to be very sad. Another strong start this week is James Washington. He plays Arizona, who are 5th in points allowed against the wide receiver position. We've already got confirmation that Devlin Hodges will be starting again, which typically isn't a sentence that bodes well for fantasy receivers, but apparently he only has eyes for James Washington, and playing against a crappy defense like Arizona, I think it's a safe bet to see James Washington to do well again. Plus, I'm expecting Kyler Murray to actually put up a fight against this Pittsburgh Steelers defense, so Devlin Hodges will have to throw the ball to actually keep the Steelers in the game. Number 3, we are looking at Robby Anderson versus the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins give up 4th most points allowed against the wide receiver position. This one's pretty much just a straightforward play. Robby Anderson's been coming back alive. Past couple weeks, he's had a very strong performance. I look for him to do it again against a crappy Miami Dolphins defense. Number 2 is Deebo Samuel versus the Saints. The Saints are number 9 for wide receiver points allowed. And with the fact that I've already mentioned that I'm pivoting off of the 49ers backfield, that goes to say that I believe that there's going to be a lot more passing in this game. And Marshawn Lattimore shadows anyone who would most likely shadow Emmanuel Sanders. I think Deebo Samuel is a smash play this week. They're going to have to throw the ball a lot. I think Kittle and Samuel will be the main benefactors of that. And I think Samuel has a very strong week this week. If you have him, make sure he's in your lineup. And then number 1, you absolutely have to start Alshon Jeffery. If you have him, he destroyed the Dolphins last week. He's going to destroy the Giants this week. The Giants are even worse against the fantasy wide receiver in points allowed than the Dolphins are. Carson Wentz is going to be targeting Alshon Jeffery all night long. The Giants are not very good at stopping them, and the Eagles absolutely need to win. Again, this is pretty much a no-brainer. If you have Alshon Jeffery, make sure he is on your team in your lineup. Okay, looking at some of the sits this week, other side of the ball of that game, I am sitting Darius Slayton against the Eagles. Yes, the Eagles are number 3 in points allowed for the wide receiver position, but it's looking like Daniel Jones is not going to play this week, which means we get Eli Manning. Eli Manning has not shown us any rapport with Darius Slayton, and it looks like Golden Tate and Evan Ingram will be back. Darius Slayton will most likely be the main person that loses out on this on the end of this stick because of all the people that are coming back, and I just don't trust to see what I don't want to see what Eli Manning does with Darius Slayton in my lineup. So if at all possible, bench Darius Slayton. Another receiver that I'm wanting to bench this week is Dede Westbrook versus the Chargers. The Chargers are number 29 against wide receiver for points allowed. Minshew's coming back. Minshew's favorite target all season long has been DJ Chark. He hasn't favored Dede Westbrook in most games. I don't think that this is a great play pretty much for anyone on the Jacksonville team other than Fournette and possibly Chark, but I would definitely look to bench Dede if you have him. Again, the Chargers' pass defense is very good, and Jacksonville has been on a very poor swing. I don't want to bank my fantasy playoff hopes on a team that has been playing poorly. Another receiver that you're going to want to try to bench this week is Marquise Brown. He's playing Buffalo, who are number 25 in fantasy wide receiver points allowed. Buffalo is very good against the pass. They are very good at shutting down the big play guys, which Marquise Brown has pretty much just been a big play guy all year long. If he doesn't get you a long touchdown, you're probably disappointed. I'm not expecting him to get you a long touchdown this week, so you're probably going to be disappointed if you start him. I would look to pivot off of him if at all possible. Another player that similar pedigree, who's actually a very good player, but is just in a very poor situation, is Terry McLaurin. He's playing Green Bay this week. They are number 24 in fantasy points allowed against the wide receiver position. And rule number 1 here is Haskins stinks. So I don't think that Terry McLaurin is going to be having any phenomenal fantasy days as long as Haskins is throwing the ball. Darius Geis is going to get a lot of work in this game. Adrian Peterson is going to get a lot of work in this game. Green Bay is not very good against the run, but they're much better against the pass. I think if you have Terry McLaurin, you've noticed that he hasn't done well, honestly, since week 7. I think he's only had 1 game above 10 points since then. So you hopefully have someone else that you don't need to rely on Terry McLaurin going into the playoffs. And lastly, this one is very, very hard to do, and I was somewhat reluctant to put him in here, but Tyreek Hill versus the New England Patriots. He's going to get shadowed by Stefon Gilmore. Last year in the playoffs, when New England faced the Kansas City Chiefs, they held Tyreek Hill to 1 pass. So it's very hard to bench Tyreek Hill unless you have an absolutely good option to do so, and it's another one of those plays where if he blows up on your bench, you're going to be kicking yourself. So again, if you have a much better option, feel free to bench him. Otherwise, just know that it's likely that Tyreek Hill is going to disappoint this week. All right, guys, hope that helped. If you like this video, please like and subscribe for more, and we'll see you in the next one.